So 1-1 it finishes between Manchester United and Southampton. Janusz, is it the same old story? United dominating in the first half and not getting it together in the second?
It really is. I think we all make sort of that note just before halftime without knowing that almost an identical thing would have happened as it did against Burnley when Jay Rodriguez scored right after halftime, right? I remember making a note, mental note anyway, because I knew I was going to speak to you about that. It's just they just haven't done enough, right? I mean, this is Manchester United team that in the past would have gone for the jugular, wouldn't they, right? I mean, when they scored the first goal, things were going well. They had chances anyway, if you remember Cristiano Ronaldo, where he normally scores that with his eyes closed. Jadon Sancho had a chance, and that was even previous to that. And I said to myself, yeah, they just haven't done enough. I'm not talking about closing games, out, but I think in the past that's exactly what would have happened. And in turn, you could see it coming, couldn't you? Right, the last 10 minutes, the Saints, of course, were coming into the game a little bit more, and the inevitable, it seems, happened. Not just Burnley. I'm sure it hasn't got unnoticed in your household against Middlesbrough. That was pretty much the case as well, where that second half hasn't been good. So, yeah, I mean, massive points dropped. I think there's going to be even more controversy, more talking points, more unhappy people at a massive club.
It's weird, isn't it, though, Janusz? Because if you looked at that team in the first half, this doesn't look like a team where all this is going on behind the scenes. And this has to be going on behind the scenes, what we're seeing, because these leaks can't be coming from nowhere. But that seemed to look like players who wanted to fight in the first half to me.
Yeah, and as I said, it's a massive weakness at a club that for decades has this history, of course, of an incredible culture of winning, culture of leadership that was up there with Sir Alex Ferguson and some of the players, especially at Old Trafford, and that's gone. And you could see it here because you know what? I mean, in the first half, everybody, weren't you tempted? I was looking at Twitter a little bit, and people look at Paul Pogba, coming back. No, I don't buy it. I don't, Paul Pogba for me is not there in his mind, right? I mean, it hasn't.
So you don't think he looked in the mood for it today, Paul Pogba?
Well, he did, but I find leaderships, the best players react when things aren't going well. And so even within the game, that's always going to happen. I'm not just talking about Manchester United. Within each game, there's going to be times where even though you're talented, even though you're a massive club, there's going to be a time where the opposition does something where it tests you. And that's when those players need to come to the front. And, what in the second half, you tell me which players you saw, Bruno Fernandes, maybe. Other than that, Marcus Rashford looked bright. That setup for the goal was brilliant, right? Not just from Bruno Fernandes, but Marcus Rashford in the first 20, 25, 30 minutes looked a player, right? How often have we said here, and how long are we going to be talking about the potential of Marcus Rashford? With all the good things that he does on and off the pitch, right? We keep talking. How old is he now? 24, 25 years old. So I think my expectations are higher for some of these players. But then again, I go back and thinking and saying, you know what? Maybe the expectations are way too high. I mean, this is Manchester United are maybe 4th, 5th, 6th best team in the league. If you look at, the top 3, nowhere near that, you have to say. And then, there's going to be a fight. And because of these drop points right now, they've put themselves outside of that top 4 because, correct me if I'm wrong now. I mean, Spurs have 3 games on them. Not that they're playing great, but 3 games in hand. Arsenal, couple games as well. So Manchester United are shooting themselves in the foot. But my expectations are exactly that. This is Manchester United that, I don't want to call average, but by their lofty standards, they are.
It's a shame as well, isn't it? Because if you've got the story of the first half, to see Sancho getting that opener and the work that was put in by the players, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, and then Sancho with the goal, his first goal at Old Trafford, it looks as though it could have been a different story, particularly for Jadon Sancho. He'd have been taking the headlines if they could have seen this win out.
Yeah, and that's not far away. You score that second goal and the game changes. I'm not saying that there's no way back for Saints. We saw that against Spurs, right? Obviously, resilient. This is certainly not the 9-0 team from last season, although I think they were red carded in the second minute of that game, of course. But I think that second goal is important, and certainly the narrative would have been different. Here we are. We would have been talking maybe a little bit differently about Manchester United, although some of the underlying issues for me would have been the same, right? I mean, you've got to change that. You've got to change that mentality. Some of the stories that are coming out of Manchester United are unacceptable. You can say all you want about Ralf Rangnick, if he's good coach or bad, but this has been a story for such a long time right now, and this is a rudderless and Manchester United team at the moment for me. I don't see teams or players on the same page fighting for the same cause. I think it's a little bit of that some players expected just to happen. I look at fullbacks today, not very good. Luke Shaw and Dalot, right? I mean, think about that. That was part of the issue for me, because the width and the attacking from the fullbacks were massive issues. There weren't the overloads that you need to do that. And I'm thinking on the left-hand side, if I compare Luke Shaw, who some were telling me is up there with whom? Ben Chilwell, Robertson, Cancelo, seriously? On the other side, you have Kyle Walker. Why didn't Manchester United go for Kieran Trippier? I mean, he was one of the best right fullbacks, right? He was available out there. I don't know what the story is. Maybe they have. Maybe he didn't want to come. But this is Manchester United, and they don't have those players, and that's why this team is very much unbalanced. In the center of the pitch, you saw them even struggle with Romeo in the center of the pitch, and Ward-Prowse as well. So I think that story is going to continue. I think they're just good enough to maybe make it to the top four. I was a lot more comfortable with that couple of games ago, but right now they're giving it away.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.